start with hiragana drill. Okay, so, and I can pull this down so you guys aren't looking at it on a weird line. There. Okay, and the cool thing about doing the drills with the PowerPoint is whatever I have on my computer screen is also going to be the video for the YouTube recording. So even if I've got flashcards or whatever, I'm going to try to always do at least something useful on the computer at least part of the time. So that way you've got something useful to look at as you're listening to the recording, if you're listening to the class either as a review or because you missed class. Okay, so this actually says, can anybody read this top line?
Hiragana.
Hi, hiragana. And this part is katakana, which we're not studying until next chapter, okay? But this reads doriru. Can anybody guess what that means?
Drill.
Drill, yeah. So it's hiragana doriru. Okay? So let's go through them together. A, I, U, E, O, Ka, Ki, Ku, Ke, Ko, Sa, Shi, Su, Se, So, Ta, Chi, Su, Te, To, Na, Ni, Nu, Ne, No, Ha, Hi, Hu, He, Ho, Ma, Mi, Mu, Me, Mo, Ya, Yu, Yo, La, Li, Lu, Le, Lo, Wa, Wo, Now let's go through the diacriticals. Ga, Gi, Gu, Ge, Go, Za, Ji, Zu, Ze, Zo, Da, Ji, Zu, Ze, De, that's dead, Do, Ba, Bi, Bu, Be, Bo, Pa, Pi, Pu, Pe, Po, Kya, Q, Kyo, Gya, Gyu, Gyo, Sha, Shu, Sho, Ja, Ju, Jo, Cha, Chu, Cho, Nya, Nyu, Nyo, Hya, Hu, Hyo, Bya, Bu, Byo, Pya, Pu, Pyo, Mya, Mu, Myo, Lya, Lu, Ryo, particle wa, and particle e. Okay, and then it goes into groupings, which we're not going to do right now because you guys can do that on your own as well. By the way, these PowerPoints are on Canvas. They're in the Lesson 1 module. So you can go through them and look at them for yourselves anytime you want if you want to practice this way. Now we're going to do the scrambled order for a little bit, and then we're going to do some real words. Se, good. Ka, ko, na, se, pa, ya, ma, ga, da, so, you, good. Ke, all right. Ko, li, ta, u, so, Yeah.
Mu.
O. Particle O. Yeah.
O.
The other O.
U.
Ooh, good.
Q.
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 Ba.
Ba.
Ho.
Ho. Yes, with the H. Ho.
Hia.
Yeah.
Sha.
Sha.
Do.
Do.
Su.
Su.
Ki.
Be.
Yo.
Be.
De.
Pia.
Ya.
Yo.
No.
Ni. Sa.
Sa.
Yu. Ho.
Ho.
Good.
Ya.
Yeah.
Jo.
Jo.
Chu.
Chu.
Yo. I. Mo. He. Ji. Nya. Pu.
There you
Wa. Ha.
Go.
Shi.
Zu.
Ja.
Shu.
And
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Good job. So, how many people are feeling more comfortable now with the hiragana than they did a week ago?
Are you asking?
Yeah, I'm asking. Are you feeling a little more comfortable
Yes.
compared to last week? Yeah.
Figure out what they mean.
Well,
How they look. They mean their
Yeah.
sound.
right now, all they mean is their sound. These are purely phonetic symbols. They don't have a meaning attached the way characters do. We'll get to kanji soon enough, don't worry. But for now, these are just individual sounds, just like the A in the alphabet and the B in the alphabet are just individual sounds, right? Now we're going to look at some words, okay? And we're actually going to start with, let's see, there we go. Okay, so let's first read our title page. Hiragana no yomu renshu, which literally means hiragana reading practice. Okay, and what I did with this one, and this is another useful resource that you guys can use on your own for practice, is I grouped them deliberately, seeking out words that used only the letters up to that point. So for example, if you're struggling still with a certain category of the letters, let's say you can never seem to remember the ma, mi, mu, me, mo set, you can go to the page of this PowerPoint that focuses on those letters. And it'll incorporate others too, but it'll be good reading practice. So we're going to go through them in order. This should be quick because we've done all of these now. Okay, so this starts by labeling itself as a, and then what's this? Gyo. Yes, a gyo means a group. And in Japanese, each gyo means the five that have the same vowel sounds, a, I, U, E, O, but they share a consonant. Okay, so agyo means a, I, U, E, O. Kagyo means ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, and so on. Make sense? So this is the agyo group practice. So, and these are all real words. Okay, so this is ai, and where'd my cursor go? There it is. Aoi, yeah. This one is ue, yeah. Hai, oi, ie, and ie, and e. Notice the pronunciation between these two. Ie, ie. Hear the difference? That's an important distinction because ie means no, ie means a house. So if you're pronouncing it as ie but you meant ie, that could be a little confusing. Okay, and they get worse.
How would you
They're-
say no house? I don't have a house.
well, that would be, there would be other words in between. Although, well, they could be back to back. Ie, ie ga nai. Ie, ie ga arimasen. Yeah. No, I don't have a house. That would be sad. But okay.
What's
So
your plan?
homeless in Japan, that's scary. Okay, so this is
Kagyo.
kagyo. Okay, so akai, kai, kuki, hai,
Koko.
koko,
E.
e,
Koko.
koko. Again, notice the difference. Koko is a high school. Koko is here. So koko wa koko janai desu. This is not high school. Right? Okay, and then koi. And then under that, I lost my cursor again. There it is. Eki, which is a train station. Uki, yeah. Kao. Kiku, hai. Kaki, hai. Kuko, hai. Iku, and keiko. Keiko. Okay, so these are not necessarily your vocab words, so you don't have to know what these mean. I just put down every word I could think of in that given category so that you'd have reading practice for that level.
Did you have like the meanings on the PowerPoint at all?
No, this was really made for reading practice.
In the language lab, you can probably find a dictionary.
Yeah, there are dictionaries in the language lab, and of course there's online dictionaries now too. So if you really wanted to know what any of those meant, you could look them up. But the point of this at PowerPoint was really just sounding out reading practice. Okay, so this next grouping is sa-gyo. Sa-gyo. So we have sushi. I think everyone knows that one. This one is saeko. Notice that you pronounce these separately, even though they sound like they could run together. Saeko. It's a girl's name. Okay?
Really?
Yeah, saeko.
It doesn't make this.
The ends of the call is probably gross.
Yeah. 3 syllables ending with ko very often is a girl's name.
It doesn't seem right. Like go to the brain of
Yeah.
languagers.
Okay. Well, saeko is a girl's name. Okay, the one under that is shio, salt. Okay, this one is shika, right? Kashi, asa, right?
Sekai.
Sekai, right?
World.
Koe.
Koe, right? Koi, right? Oka, ike, kaku, right? So, soko, right? Asoko, right?
What are the
Sorry?
I'm trying to think what aki.
Aki,
Oh, never mind.
as in fall, autumn?
No, I'm trying to do the characters.
Oh, okay. Okay,
I know the
next,
selections. Trying to figure out how they look.
yeah, okay, so next is the kagyo, okay, and here we go.
Tochi.
Tochi, hai,
Take.
take, hai, tasukete, tasukete,
Chikatetsu.
hai, chikatetsu, hai, kasa, hai, toshi, soto, hai, katate, hai, tatsu, hai,
Sachiko.
hai, sachiko. Yes, that's another girl's name, Sachiko. Au, hai, au. Yes, you pronounce both syllables of that au. Hai, au, hai, shita, hai, eiko, and and
Tetsuko.
Tetsuko. Yes, and I know somebody named Eiko. Okay, and this one is
Nagyo.
Nagyo.
Shinu.
Shinu. Right.
Nanika.
Nanika. Right.
Nani.
Nani.
Nuno.
Nuno. Nashi. Niku. Right. Suna. Neko. Right.
Neko's a cat.
Yes. All right.
One word I knew.
This one is Hagyo. Hifu.
Hone.
Hone. Right. Konoha. Right. Heta. Right. Tokui. Right. Tokui. Fune. Right. Hoshi. Hana. Seso. Hiniku. 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 Yeah. Okay. This is Nagyo. Machi. Mune. Right. Mise. Mochi. Matsu. Motsu. Machimasu. Right. Right. Mochimasu.
Isn't that thank you for the meal or something?
No, you're thinking of Gochisousama deshita. Okay.
That's why we want
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
familiar.
Well, machimasu means to wait, mochimasu means to hold or to have. This
I
is,
think what he's thinking is itadakimasu.
itadakimasu is thank you before the meal. Like, it's almost like saying grace. Yeah, it's like, I humbly receive is a literal translation, but
It's like
it's,
just a word that sounds like it, kind of.
yeah. Well, masu, this ending, is the ending of every simple present tense formal verb in the whole language. So when we get to lesson 3, we'll be conjugating to the mas form and then masen, mashita, masen deshita in lessons 3 and 4. So yeah, all the verbs can end like that. Okay, this is kami, yeah, and then musume and musuko, which means daughter and son.
So morning musume means morning daughter.
Huh? Musume is daughter, musuko is son.
Do you know the group morning musume?
Oh, I did not know that. That's funny. Yeah. Okay, so
Nagyo.
Yagyo. Okay.
Yume.
Yume. Right.
Yane.
Yane.
Yomu.
Yomu.
No.
Nomu. Oh, sorry. I go back. Previous. Okay. Yomu. Nomu.
Moya.
Moya. Oyu. Right. Yoyaku. Yume na. Right. Yume na. Yume na. Means famous. Okay. This is Ragyo. Yoru. Hai. Hiroi. Hare. Rekishi. Right. Arau. Right. Ote arai. Ote arai. Again, each one's enunciated there. Ote arai. It's restroom.
That's a really long,
Yeah.
deep restroom.
This textbook actually teaches a different word for restroom that's shorter and easier, but it's a katakana word, so I think it comes up in lesson 2. So, okay, and this next one, the last one there is Yori. Okay, okay, so this is Wagyo to. Okay, so we're going to get a couple examples of phrases that take the particle o here. Okay, so this is warau, right? Wakaru, right? Yeah, ne o samasu means to wake up or to open your eyes. Ne o samasu. Okay. Where'd my cursor go? There it is. o tsukeru means to be careful. Okay. Shimni, liron, right? Han-e. Notice this unique spelling. Han-e versus han-e. Okay, so there's more than one thing you could write that would have basically the same sound,
Sort of.
but han-e is not the same as hane. Okay? If you're transcribing these into Romaji, they would spell this with an apostrophe to show that the N is not attached to the E there, versus that spelling for this one. Okay?
Is the second one also a word?
Not that I can recall,
Okay, so
but but there are places where it is possible for.
Same thing.
No, they don't mean the same thing. That's why they have to make the distinction in the spelling. And, you know, in this case, han is one kanji and a is a second kanji, which is why they're separated the way they are. If it were an original Japanese word, they probably would have spelled it this way. But if it's of Chinese origin, that does different things with the pronunciation. Okay, so the spelling distinction is important. If you're spelling it while typing, in order to get the spelling you want, what you might have to do is after typing N for this, you actually have to type N twice to get this symbol. And then you would probably need to hit the enter button to solidify it as hiragana, not let it turn into kanji, and then type the e after that, so that it wouldn't convert it to that by mistake. Okay, so you do have to be a little bit careful when you're typing, when you've got odd spellings like that. Okay, so, and then the last one on the list here was rainen. Rainen. Okay, so, okay, now we've got some ones with the tenten to chisai maru. Tenten means the two little dots. To means and. Chisai means small. Maru means circle. So tenten means the two little dots. Chisai maru is what they call the little baby circle that makes things into P sounds.
So the to is an and sign?
To means and. It's the word for and
Yes.
in
Yeah, I was
Japanese.
trying to, like, I was writing, I was like, I wonder how to write and in
Yeah, but
Chinese.
caveat, it only works between nouns. You cannot use to to say, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that.
So it's like a plus sign. Then.
To is, yeah, it's specifically and for nouns. So like, what do you like to eat? I like sushi and sashimi. To works there. Sushi to sashimi. Or, where do you want to go? Nihon to Chugoku. I want to go to Japan and China. Yeah. It works for those kinds of phrases. It doesn't work between, like, he is handsome and smart. It doesn't work with adjectives. It doesn't work with verbs. He wants to eat and drink. No, it doesn't work there.
What would you use there? And?
Other things that we'll learn much later. Conjugations that allow you to connect things. Okay, so tenten to chisai maru. Let's read these. Dekigoto, はい。時代、はい。頑張る、はい。頑張る、はい。はい。万博、万博、万博. Some of these are odd words. I picked them for their reading value, not necessarily for what they mean.
What is a banpaku?
I would have to look it up. I don't remember right now. It's an unusual word, but it's a fun one to say.
It does sound fun. That sounds
Banpaku.
curious.
Okay, kaba.
Kaba.
Kaba. Okay. Gaikokujin. Gaikokujin means foreign person, foreigner. So us when we're in Japan, right? Gaikokujin, right? Shinpai, worries. Mondai, problem. Arigato, right? Gozaimasu, right? Hi, gochiso-sama. There's that thank you after the meal phrase, gochiso-sama. And here is itadakimasu. This thank you before the meal. Itadakimasu. And tadaima. It's like I'm home. And gozen means AM. Gogo is PM. Daigaku, where we are right now? College, yes, daigaku. Okay, here we have chisai, meaning small, ya, yu, yo. So the combination sounds that use the small ya, yu, yo. Okay, so, hai, okyaku-san. Okay, kyonen, hai. Kyo, kyu, ju, yeah, minshu-shugi. There's a tongue twister for you, right? Minshu-shugi. Shakai, hai. Hai, densha, hai. Ryokan, hai. Kinjo, hai. Ocha, hai. Kyoko-chan. Kyoko-chan.
That sounds familiar. What is
It's the girl's name. Chan ending is like an affectionate diminutive. So like you have a little niece whose name is Kyoko, you might call her Kyoko-chan. Yeah, it sounds very cute. And it's sometimes used for a little bit older girls too, like middle school girls call each other something or other chan. Even in high school, if they're good friends, that's like a nickname for your friends. But if you don't know the person very well and they're your age or older, you probably wouldn't use chan. If they're younger, a lot younger, you could use chan even for somebody you don't know well. Like, you know, the little boy that I used to know when I had a host family who had 3 grandkids, and the 3-year-old was Naohiro, but everybody called him Nao-chan. He was 3. He was adorable. You know?
Sounds like you could tease someone about their age
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, he was just so cute. So everybody called him Nao-chan. That was what everybody called him. So, and anyway, so Kyoko-chan sounds like a cute little girl named Kyoko who's maybe 5 or 7. You know. Okay, this is Kyoka, right? Kyokai. Notice the short kyo versus long kyo. Okay, Kyokai, Jinja, and Tokin. Tokin. Right. Okay. Now we have Chisai tsu to nagai boin. So Chisai tsu is the small tsu. Remember, that's the pause sound that we talked about last time. And nagai means long. Boin means vowel sounds. Okay, so long vowels and the small tsu, which is like a chopping it short kind of sound. Right? So these are some contrasts too. So this is kissaten. Kissaten. Okay, so rather than a long E sound, it's more giving like an extra S. Kissaten. Kissaten. Okay? The next one is zutto. Zutto. Again, a little bit of an extra T sound in there. This is eigo, which means English language. Eiga, which means a movie. So The go versus ga makes a huge difference. Important.
Let's go to English language. Let's go to movies.
Yeah. Okay, next one is ikai. Yeah, there's my cursor. Okay, and there's gakko, which means school. Okasan, oji-san,
Old man.
otosan, ohayo, kuki, はい。お兄さん、はい。Yeah. 数字、東京、はい。はい、相談、平和。Okay. Questions?
I have to learn how to read.
Well, it takes practice. That's why it's available for you on Canvas, so that you can practice. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is, let's go through, we did some of these last time, but do you want to review them, the shorter vocab words from our lesson, or are you ready to try some of the long ones, since we just did a bunch of short words? Maybe you were ready to. We've got some longer vocab words to try reading. This is still reading practice. I'm not expecting you to necessarily know what they all mean yet. Okay? But can you read these? So desu ka? Which is actually a question. Ka ending turns a statement into a question. Okay. So desu ka is like, really? Is that so? Okay. So desu ka?
Does the Japanese have sarcasm?
It's very different in Japanese than English. American style sarcasm translated into Japanese doesn't translate.
Yeah, I heard that the Japanese don't really like pick up on sarcasm.
They don't really, yeah.
Oh, that'll work.
Japanese versions of sarcasm are very different from what we would call sarcasm.
Like there was a
Don't
guy,
offend someone.
Yeah.
one of the guys in our class last semester,
Uh-huh.
he'd go to his Japanese friend's house and he'd say, I'm home, like it was his house, and his
Yeah.
mom would be like, this isn't your house.
Yeah, so, yeah, she did not get that he was kidding.
Like she kind of did. She's like respond what he,
Yeah.
the response that he should have kind of.
Oh, okay,
you know,
yeah,
the
so,
difference in
yeah,
ingredients.
there's, Japanese version of sarcasm is completely different. So, let's try it. Hi, okaeri. Anyone know?
Welcome home.
Yeah, welcome home. This is the casual version, right? So some of you have been learning your vocab already. That's cool. Yamada-san. Yeah. What? Yeah, it's a name. And what's the san suffix mean?
An older person.
Yes, respectful. So it's like Mr. or Ms. You put it after a person's name to be respectful. So yeah, if Yamada-san is like your best friend, then you might just call him Yamada because he's your best friend. But if he's not your best friend, or she, then you would say Yamada-san to be polite. Okay. Then shu. Yeah. Then shu means practice. And this is actually not in your formal vocab list, but it's one of the section headers in every chapter of your book. So I went ahead and included the section headers as vocabulary flashcards in this chapter so that you guys can learn, so for example, renshu means practice, and every chapter after the grammar explanation section, the next section is the renshu section. So you'll see that frequently, might as well learn it. Junana. 17, yes. Ju meaning 10, nana meaning 7. So it's like 10 plus 7, junana, 17. That's the way Japanese numbers work.
So if it's Nana June will be 70?
Yes, very good. All right. So, yeah, 14. 14, yes. 10 for 10 again, 4 for 4. So, 14, 14. 11 is 11. Yep. All right. I'm hanging numbers already. Nihonjin. Nihonjin. Japanese person, yes. Jin meaning person. You put jin on the end of any country, nationality type word, and it means a person from that country. So Mexico jin would be person from Mexico, yes. Italia jin would be a person from
Italy.
Italy, yeah. America jin,
America.
American. Canada jin,
Canada.
yeah. Deutsche jin,
Dutch.
German, yeah. Yeah, Hollanda would be Dutch from
That's so
Holland.
Dutch.
Yeah, Hollanda comes from Holland. So they use that term. So Nihonjin is person from Nihon, which is Japan. Right. Okay, so we've got ichi, which means one. Ji means o'clock time, and han is half, so it's 1:30. Yes, ichiji han, 1:30, 1:30. Hai, hachiju. Yes, 80. Hachi is 8, so hachiju, 80. Right. Sanju. San is 3, so 30. Hai. Rokuju. 60, yes. Hai, sayonara.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah. Right. Shusan. 13, yes. Okay. Excuse me, yes. Sumimasen is excuse me. Okay. Here's another section header, not necessarily on your vocab list, but it is in your book. Daika. Daika. Dai meaning number, like the hashtag symbol kind of number. I, short for ichi, got the small su there, and then ka, in this case, for lesson. So daika is lesson number 1. Daika. And all the lessons have a header like this, but with, of course, the number changing each time. So daika is lesson number 1. Dainika would be lesson number 2, and so on. Okay. Konnichiwa means hello, good day, good afternoon. Any variation like that for translation is fine. Nanaju is 70, just like you said before. Yonju, 40. Juhachi. Hi, Juhachi is 18. Juroku is 16. Yep.
Thank you.
Arigato. Thank you. This is the casual thanks, right? If you wanted to make it formal, do you know what you add on the end here? Hai gozaimasu. So arigatou gozaimasu is a more polite thank you.
How do you say you're welcome?
Do ikashimashite. Yeah, which they don't even teach in this lesson, crazily enough.
Shouldn't you be like just because you say
They
thank you?
teach iye, which is a more casual way to say don't mention it. So if somebody says arigato, you can say iye, and that's like saying no problem. Yeah, don't mention it. But do ikashimashite is a much more formal you're welcome, and for some reason this book doesn't teach it until like way later.
Politeness. The
Go
whole
figure, right?
Japanese culture is politeness. Come on.
Yeah. Hi, 12時.
G.
Yeah. How much?
2 o'clock?
Not 2, 12. What's the Ju part? So Juni is 12, G is o'clock. So Juniji is 12 o'clock. So you were on the right track.
Yeah.
They use a 24-hour clock, don't they? So they, but
Sometimes.
they say like 23 o'clock?
Sometimes, not usually in spoken, but very often in written form. So it's interesting. In spoken form, they more likely use the 12-hour clock like we would, but on like the hours printed on the door of a business, very often it's 24-hour clock there.
Konbanwa?
Hai konbanwa, which is good evening, yes. Konbanwa.
No.
Long ones. Time for long ones.
I found it.
Sound it out. You can do it.
What?
Yeah. Gochiso sama deshita. Gochiso sama deshita. Gochiso sama deshita. Who remembers what that means? Thank you for the meal after you've eaten. Yes, it's literally like that was a feast.
That's the literal meaning.
Yeah, that's a literal translation. Gochiso sama deshita. That was a great feast, something like that. What I wanted to point out is notice where they broke the word. It's got nothing to do with where the natural breaks would be. In Japanese, they don't have any rules about hyphenating or only breaking the word in a logical spot. You break the word when you run out of space and need to go to the next line.
Oh, that's not nice.
So sama got split, and I decided to let it stay that way so that you could get used to the idea that this is reality with Japanese.
Okay.
And what's really crazy is if you're typing in English within a Japanese word processing program, it'll do that to English words too. If you're typing the word teacher, you could have teach E, and the R is the only thing on the next line because it ran out of space at that point. And if you don't want it to do that, you have to go back and like put those spaces in yourself to make it adjust, because it doesn't fix it for you the way our word processing does.
That's not nice.
So, hi, yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Every time.
I know. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu means, anybody?
Something.
Please don't.
Okay, yeah, context is like saying nice to meet you. More literal translation is something like, please treat this relationship well. Okay? So it's not just when you're meeting somebody for the first time. It can also be when you're starting something new together. So for example, you know somebody, you've known them for years, but now you're taking a college course together with that person. You've never been in the same Japanese 1 class together, now all of a sudden you are. You might say yoroshiku onegaishimasu to each other as a way of saying, please, let's be good classmates, let's help each other out in this class. It's going to be tough, let's be nice to each other, let's help each other. So you might,
That's why we can't translate, because English-speaking people don't really say that.
Right, yeah, there's no good translation for yoroshiku onegaishimasu, but Japanese people use it all the time. I just used it this morning. I met a woman that I've known sort of in passing, but I didn't know for sure if she was Japanese until today. And we introduced ourselves finally, and I was like, are you Japanese? Because your name's Japanese. So, yeah, and she is. So we said yoroshiku onegaishimasu to each other then, because, we knew each other a little bit because our kids go to preschool together, and now we're actually going to be friends because now she knows I speak Japanese. She doesn't have a lot of people to speak Japanese with around here.
So surprised.
Yeah.
Well, she might have a couple more.
Yeah.
Daigakusai.
Hi. Okay, so we had daigaku earlier. Daigaku meant
College.
college. So sei is a suffix that when you add it on, it means student. So daigakusei means college student. Right. Ryugakusei.
It's like a,
This ryu is like exchange or study abroad. Ryugaku. So ryugakusei is
Foreign student.
exchange student, international student, foreign student, study abroad student, however you want to translate it. It's this, ryugakusei. Okay. Okaeri nasai. Okaeri nasai. Do you remember okaeri?
This is the more formal version?
It's the more formal version of okaeri. So if you're coming home and saying tadaima, your family, your host family, whoever, could say okaeri or they could say okaeri nasai, either one. If, for example, you've got a host family that's really casual, but say the neighbor is hanging out visiting when you're coming home from school, you might say tadaima and the neighbor might say okaeri nasai at the same time that your host family says okaeri, because the neighbor doesn't know you as well as your host family does. So, or if it's just a more formal host family. Some families are more formal than others in Japanese culture, just like here. You know, some kids call their parents mother and father and say yes sir and no sir. Some kids call them mom and dad and they're rude, you know, right? So Japanese families have the same kind of variation that we have, just in their own cultural language. So, hi, oyasumi nasai. Yes, good night. Okay, oyasumi nasai. And again, the nasai part is a more formal ending. So if you drop that, just say oyasumi, that's a much more casual good night. Okay, so again, little kids saying good night to each other, oyasumi, oyasumi. You're leaving a party at 9 p.m. saying good night and goodbye to your work colleagues, oyasumi nasai, oyasumi nasai. Okay, so it's situational. Hi, ichinensei. So the ichi part is one. The sei part we knew was a suffix for student. The nen part means year. So first year student, exactly, ichinensei. And depending on which kind of school the student is in, ichinensei could be first grade. It could be first year of middle school, which is our 7th grade. It could be first year of high school, our 10th grade. Or it could be first year of college. Or even first year of grad school, for that matter. Ichinensei just means the first year of your schooling in that particular level of schooling. Okay. Hi, itadakimasu. Thank you for the food before you start eating. Yes, this is the one that's literally, I humbly receive. So not only do you use itadakimasu when you're about to start eating, you also can use it when someone gives you something, especially like a birthday gift, or if it's somebody that you have to be respectful toward and they're giving you something. Okay? So itadakimasu, again, multi-purpose phrase. Hi, arigatou gozaimasu is?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi. Hi, ohayou gozaimasu. Good morning, yes. And again, this is the formal form. And if you leave off the gozaimasu and just say ohayou, that's very casual. So friends seeing each other in the morning, ohayou, ohayou. Seeing your teacher in the morning, you would say ohayou gozaimasu. Okay, there's a difference. Japanese culture makes that hierarchy distinction very clear and obvious. So, yeah, if there's an age gap, the younger person would use the more formal phrase, Ohayo gozaimasu, even if the older person says just Ohayo. If there's an age gap of more than a couple of years, that's enough to make the difference. はい、11時
11 o'clock.
Yes, 11 o'clock. 90. Yes, 90. All right, 90, 90. 21. Something one, but 21, so 21, yes. So, again, break it down. If you're just doing 20, that would be 20, right? Then add the ichi, 21. Make sense? 21. So it's like you're saying 2 tens, 1. 2 tens plus 1 is 21, right? 21. So the number system in Japanese is very logical once you get used to it. 19 would be 19, yes, 19. Right, 行ってきます。行ってきます。
Something formal.
Yes, something formal, good
When
eye.
you're leaving the house, right?
Yes, when you're leaving the house, you say this. Not sayonara. Okay, itte is the I'm gonna go part. Kimasu is I will come back. So you're saying I'm leaving, but I'll come back. Itte kimasu. Sayonara sounds like you're saying you're leaving. You're not necessarily gonna come back.
Farewell.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Never see you again.
So, yeah, sayonara implies that you're not going to see the other person again until some kind of change occurs. It could be just overnight. It could be, a more significant change in your life. You're not expecting to see them for months or years, maybe. So there's a story about a little girl who's in kindergarten, and she's going off every morning to school, and she always says ittekimasu, and her mom always answers with itterashai, which is please do go and you'll be welcome when you come back, basically. And then one morning she decides to change it up and say sayonara, and her mom runs out the door after her crying because she thinks her daughter's running away from home. That illustrates the difference between ittekimasu and sayonara. So
That was scary for a parent.
yeah. Freaked me out.
Hey, I'm leaving, Mom. I'll be back. No, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, gochiso-sama is the casual, it was a feast. Thanks for the meal that we just ate. Yeah, so remember, gochiso-sama deshita was the formal one. And again, deshita is a formal past tense suffix in this case. So dropping it just turns this into casual. Gochiso-sama is more casual. Gochiso-sama deshita is more formal. Okay. This is often paired with and comes before yoroshiku onegaishimasu, but they don't have to be together. Hajimemashite is basically saying we're meeting for the first time. So it's a greeting when you first meet somebody or when you first introduce yourself to a group. It doesn't have to occur any other time though. It's really just for first meetings. Versus yoroshiku onegaishimasu, which could be the first time you meet, the first time you start a new project together, the next time you start a new project together, the next time something new is happening in your lives together. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu gets repeated a bunch of times. Hajimemashite is truly, I just met you, nice to meet you. Hi.
I thought that was like, I kept thinking it meant to start start or to begin or something?
It's from the same root word as to start or begin, yes. Hajimeru is a verb that means to start, to begin something.
Okay.
So,
I like that.
yeah, so hajimemashite comes from that, and it's specifically, we're starting some kind of a relationship with one another,
Okay.
whether it's a friendship, whether it's teacher-student, whether it's, parent and teacher of my child, hajimemashite. Okay. Itterashai pairs with ittekimasu. So the child says ittekimasu as she goes to school, and the parent says itterashai.
Could you also say tasukete or?
Tasukete is save me.
Oh.
That's like help, rescue me.
Is that the one they said, well, you're welcome back?
Yeah, this is please go and you'll be welcome when you come back. So itterashai. The itte part is conjugated from the verb to go, and the rashai is, again, conjugated from irashaimasu, which is you're welcome to come, or irashaimase. Anybody ever heard irashaimase? That's what they greet you with when you walk into every store in Japan. Any store you go into, anywhere in Japan, somebody who works there is going to say irashaimase, which is like welcome in. Okay? And if you go into the big department stores, every employee you walk past, they're all trained to say irashaimase anytime they see a customer they haven't locked eyes with yet. So you'll get irashaimase a lot when you're in Japan.
I don't identify with that kind of work ethic. I don't get paid enough.
Right. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Irashaimase is welcome, and it's also an acknowledgement that I see you and I'm available to help you if you've got a question, right? So that substitutes for both at once, kind of. Okay, let's see. How much time do we have?
13 minutes.
Okay, we're going to do just a very quick overview of our grammar points so that you guys can get started on some of your grammar Rinshu and homework. Okay, so this so that we can Okay, so the first grammar structure, this is like the most basic Japanese sentence structure. This is where it all starts. Okay? If you're wanting to say X is Y, this is the structure you're going to use. So for example, I am a student. That's an equivalency statement, right? It's or so he is a teacher. We are college students. We are Americans. They are Japanese people. Whatever kind of statement you want to make like that, that's using is, am, or are in the sentence, this is the structure you're going to use. Okay? Now, the tricky part is to realize that the particle wa does not mean is. The verb is des. That's the part that means is, am, or are. So to put it in literal translation terms, let's say you're using the phrase watashi wa gakusei desu. Okay? Watashi wa gakusei desu. Literally is I, topic marker, student, am. Okay? That's the word order. Okay? That's Japanese structure. If you make the mistake of translating wa as is, then you're going to get confused, one, and you're going to want to drop des because you're not going to understand what the point of having that on the end is, right? But if you understand this I want to color code. Watashi means I. Gakusei means student. Des, in this case, would translate best as am, right? For it to be grammatically compatible with English, right? Wa is a topic marker. It's indicating that, hey guys, this thing here, that's what we're talking about. That's what I'm giving you information about. That's what wa does. That's what wa's purpose is. There's no English equivalent for particle wa. English doesn't have grammar particles per se. The closest we have is prepositions, and Japanese particles and English prepositions only overlap maybe 50% of the time. The rest of the time, there's no English equivalent for what Japanese particles do. Okay, so I, topic marker, student am. Okay, yes, so that's,
I am student. I am a student.
yeah, right. So, and again, articles, a, an, and the, Japanese doesn't have them. They don't exist.
I love that.
Hurts. That's gonna separate.
Yeah, so that I, student, am, that's all the Japanese sentences say. Watashi wa gakusei desu. The good news is, once you have the concept of this structure with the wa and the des, then you can substitute any personal pronoun or person's name in this first line, and any noun that gives more information about that person in the second line, right? So if you want to say Takeshi is an exchange student, same structure. Takeshi-san wa ryugakusei desu, right? If you want to say Hiroko is a Japanese person, Hiroko-san wa Nihonjin desu, right? If you want to say Mary is American, Mary-san wa Amerikajin desu. Right.
It doesn't say this in the book.
Yes.
Are you talking correct?
Yeah, I am 42. Yes, I am explaining the grammar in different words than what your textbook uses. So hopefully, between the two, it'll make sense. If my explanation isn't working for you, read the book. If reading the book isn't working for you, listen to my YouTube explanation again. You know, and hopefully between the two, it'll make some sense. Okay, so the next piece of the grammar before we run out of time is to see that you can also add the particle ka on the end. So we've had, our first grammar particle was wa, and it's the topic marker, right? Okay, ka is what I like to call a grammar question mark. It's a verbal and written question mark. And when you've got a question ending with ka, notice that Japanese people don't necessarily use a question mark per se. If you've got a casual question that drops the ka or any other obvious way of turning something into a question, then they'll use a question mark punctuation to indicate that, yes, I do mean for this to be a question. Because in casual form, sometimes in the spoken form, it's all with tone of voice, intonation, that turns it into a question. And, you know, an example in English would be, really? Really? You know, you can do both of those in English, right? You can do that in Japanese also later. We're not doing that yet. For the time being, we're turning statements into questions by adding ka. So if you don't know anything about yourself, this is like an existential question here. Watashi wa gakusei desu ka? Am I a student? You know, or more likely, right? You take out the watashi and you put some other person in this spot, right? Takeshi-san wa gakusei desu ka? Is Takeshi a student? Tanaka-san wa gakusei desu ka? Iie, Tanaka-san wa sensei desu. No, Miss Tanaka is a teacher. She's not a student. Okay? So you can ask yes-no questions by taking a des sentence and adding ka on the end. It turns it into a yes-no question. So you can put any person you want here. So for example, I'm going to use Hitoshi. Hitoshi-san. Hitoshi-san wa gakusei desu ka? Is Mr. Hitoshi a student? And then to answer that, you could answer with hai gakusei desu.
Is that a comma?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was
Yeah.
commas in the Japanese.
Yeah, Japanese does use commas. Sometimes they use these funky little backwards looking ones. Hai gakusei desu. E is our other yes word. So if you prefer, you could say gakusei desu. Notice that you don't have to repeat the name, but you can if you choose to. So you could say Hitoshi-san wa gakusei desu. The other option would be sou desu, which is like saying, yes, that is the case. So you've got 3 different ways to answer yes to that question. Hitoshi-san wa gakusei desu ka? Hai, gakusei desu. Gakusei desu. Or Hitoshi-san wa gakusei desu. Or hai or with sou desu. Hai, sou desu. Sou desu. Is sometimes considered to be a little bit more feminine sounding. Hai, a little bit more masculine sounding. But those stereotypes are starting to break down in modern Japan. So women say height just as often as they say probably, and guys sometimes use Okay, so you don't have to worry too much. Whichever one you're comfortable with is fine. Okay, if you wanted to say no, does it even teach the negatives in this? Yeah, they don't teach the negatives in this chapter. They teach that next chapter. So what we can do instead is, if you want to say no, you can correct the person. So you can say, for example, iie, sensei desu. So if you want to say Hitoshi is not a student, he's actually a teacher, you could say iie sensei desu, or iie Hitoshi-san wa sensei desu. Okay, does that make sense? So iie and then the corrected information. That's all they're teaching you how to do in this chapter with that grammar point. Okay, and then the final grammar structure that they teach in this lesson uses a third particle, which is no. No is a possessive particle. Okay, so for example, let's say we want to talk about Hitoshi's mother. So Hitoshi-san no okaasan wa gakusei desu ka? Okay, so what we're doing here is we've got Hitoshi-san no okaasan. So this no here is acting like the apostrophe S in English, right? The tricky part here is English doesn't always use apostrophe S, right? Sometimes, we might use like, she's a Japanese language teacher. There's no apostrophe S there. But in Japanese, they would say, Nihongo no sensei. Okay. Sorry. Nihongo no sensei.
It's not really possessive in that sense.
It's not really possessive in that case. Or like we might say she's a student of University of Florida. Furorida Daigaku no gakusei in Japanese. So in this case, thinking of it as apostrophe S is not really helpful. Instead, it's better to think of this as the main noun and this one as the modifier. The modifier noun. So, you know, if you lift out this whole phrase, sensei desu still makes sense. She's a teacher. Nihongo no sensei desu. She's a Japanese language teacher. Okay, makes sense? So that's a way to think about it without falling into the trap of thinking it has to be like an apostrophe S, because it doesn't always work that way. So it's better to think about the main noun and the modifying noun. And in Japanese sentence structure, whatever is closest to the verb, remember des is a verb, okay? Whatever is closest to the verb tends to be what's most important in the sentence. So, Oka-san wa gakusei desu. That's the main idea there, right? Somebody's mother is a student. Or is she? We're asking the question, right? But whose mother? That's extra information. That's modifying mother, right? Hitoshi-san's mother. Hitoshi-san no oka-san wa gakusei desu ka? Iie, Nihongo no sensei desu. No, she's a Japanese language teacher. Okay, make sense? Okay, so there's obviously more explanation in your textbook that you kids can read, and we're going to start on Tuesday. We're actually going to be doing textbook renshu exercises in class. We'll do some vocab review first, and then we will actually be going through and I'll be picking on people, you know, so-and-so tell us how to say 5 in Japanese, next person tell us how to say 9 in Japanese, and so on. And we're going to go through, and it's going to be literally, okay, Sierra-san, 1番, 2番, 3番, 4番, 5番, 6番, like that. And we're just going to go around the room and go through as many exercises as we can get to in the time allotted.
So do the
Okay.
homework.
Yeah, so do that homework so that you come in here ready, maybe even having the answers written out in your notebook so that you're ready when I say, please do number 3, you're not going, I don't know. Okay?